But that was a good point. I have something to say.
She talked about the violence, and I know that I just want to say that violence, freedom, violence, emancipation, these are all terms that are only, depends on where you're from.
Yeah,
freedom,
that's right.
Freedom of speech is different here than freedom of speech.
Yeah, the violence for me is different than the guy who was living in Saint-Germain-des-Prés in Paris, for sure. But Ali Abbasi, the director, he always says he didn't make a movie about a serial killer, but about a serial killer society. For me, it's too big. We can't generalize a society in this way. But when he says that, I really feel it in my bones. I had this experience, and I know when the society becomes the whole society becomes serial killer, what does it mean? And I think this is, I think 20 years ago in Iran, the climate, the situation, everything was very different. And as we see, this society is getting changed every day, day by day. And with this new generation, the fact that these people are existing, that, as you say, they are brainwashed. The guy in this movie, he thinks he comes, in the name of God, he's just killing these women because he wants to make this society safer for his family, In a way, you can understand him. He's a nice father. But this mindset exists even today. The Minister of Culture, after my award in Cannes, he got really angry. And this guy, he came out and he said this movie is in the direction of Salman Rushdie ideas. And, these guys, they have to be punished, But this guy, this minister, he didn't even watch this movie. That's just kind of being an extremist. I think this is the whole system. This is the problem we have in Iran. And the fact that people they support this serial killer, I know they exist in this society. We have those people. And I really hope, that just making movies and, I think many even filmmakers, they get a bit sad with this movie. They don't want us to show Iran in this way, in a dark way. But I think this is a mirror in the end for all of us, and at least many of us, to just look at ourselves again and just see what we should do with our society.
And don't forget, we're talking about the Middle East. We're talking about a part of the world where, as far as women's rights, we've never seen a movement like this of women standing up and questioning something that's 1,400 years old. I think it's also important to put in perspective sometimes. It wasn't that long ago, 500 years ago, it's not that long, in Europe, they burned 80,000 witches. So religion is obviously the biggest mafias in the world. And these things are so ancient and medieval, and they have impunity. They have no one to answer to but God. So, but then all of a sudden you see these people rise up, and it slowly turns into a different direction. It's bloody and painful for everybody right now, but I do feel you can't go back. You can't close your eyes once you've opened them, one way or the other.
Is there any rating for this movie?
Rating?
Yeah.
I think it's rated R, probably. I mean, there's sex and violence in R-rated movies. I would guess rated R.
Yeah?
I noticed that Mr. Abbasi included a lot of little girls throughout the movie. There's the sister of one of the victims who's around 4 or 5 years old, and then there's Saeed's daughter who's around the same age. And I wonder, because they're young enough to be naive and to not really have a point of view on what's going on, but he spends a lot of time focusing the camera on them and giving them the whole screen a lot of the time. So I was wondering, do you believe there was a certain theme he was trying to convey with that choice?
That same, there is a documentary already about this guy. do you remember the name? Maziar Bahari. He made a documentary about the Saeed Hanaei, the real guy, when he got arrested. That's how we know the journalist in that movie. And it's so bizarre. The last scene of that documentary, you know, this scene, the last scene here, is exactly a remake of that scene.
I thought it might be, yeah.
So yeah, the daughter is, you know, yeah, the son comes to the camera and he says, and he shows everything with his sister, and his father apparently told him about everything he did, you know, how he killed already these women. And that's so harsh, that's so tough, but that's the reality. I think, you know, Ali never wanted to just, as you said, he doesn't judge anybody in this movie, actually. It's, you know, I think we have to just, when we watch this movie, you have to know that it's a noir movie. For me, it's a mix of genres. It's a noir movie, it's a polar movie, it's a serial killer movie, but there is no, it's not that classic serial killer movie, and it's about Iranian society. It's a very difficult, I think, way of filmmaking to just mix all these genres. But yeah, you know, there are some real things that we see in the movie which are really related to that society, and this scene is one of those realities.
Yes.
Hi. Wonderful film and great job. It's an understatement. Amazing filmmaking and acting, and the guy who played the serial killer. I don't know if he's an Iranian.
Is he a nice guy? I'm just kidding. In real life?
What an actor!
He is.
And how he humanized the role when he's with his family and he breaks down crying. How much of that humanization of him as a character was in the script, in the material, and how much was just kind of with him and the filmmaking and improvising? And because it was just hard to hate him at times, like you felt bad for him.
Yeah.
Because brainwashing, even if you're doing the bad things he's doing, not brainwashing, but just what he goes through, and he doesn't see it that way. He's a human being who does love his son the way any man does. And I thought it was real powerful, kind of that.
Yeah, he's amazing. Yeah. His performance is amazing.
Where does he live, that actor?
He is, actually, he lives in Iran.
Oh.
He lives in exactly that region, in Khorasan. Even his accent is his accent, Bajastani accent.
Is he there now?
And he just came for Cannes, and after all those attacks we received, so we just kept him in Europe. But he has to go back. He doesn't have visa, or he lives in Iran basically. And this is something very unique with this movie as well, because I don't remember in our history of cinema, it never happened that people from inside and outside, they get together to make a good movie. And that was his reason, and even his son in the movie, I found him in a small city north of Iran in that region. And there are many other actors who are living right now in Iran, and they really risk their career and their life, But the way I met him, that's something, and for just to answer you, the way Ali works is very special. He, as an actor, you have lots of space. You can improvise. Every take is different from the take before. And, he comes to you, for example, this is the scene in prison, and he asked me to just remember he wanted to kill you and interpret, and your performance just has to be in that direction. And so I get it in that way. And then the next tape, he comes and he says, you understand him. Stay calm, just try to challenge him. And then the second one is different, the fourth one is different, And that really helps you to even, find the character in yourself better and better in different ways. And I think the magic happened in post-production when he put all these different takes together with different emotions. And that's why sometimes, even if when I watch this movie, I'm just wondering how Mehdi, played this scene, or how I did it. I don't even remember. I think Ali actually somehow in editing he made all this. He put all this together.
Yes.
How many shooting days did you have, and how is the filmmaking industry like? How did the filmmaker? You always shoot at night, and are there any permits, or you shot guerrilla style?
No, we have daylight too. The movie is day and night.
Yeah, but
during
where did you shoot it?
In Jordan. In Jordan.
But he did get some shots from Iran in there, because there's authenticity in a few
maybe
things.
just one shot
The
from
mosque,
shrine.
right?
But the shrine, even we made it in post-production. But only maybe one shot from shrine we had. No, everything has done, in Jordan that was not easy even in Jordan, Jordan is not easy country to shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, thank you so much. It was a beautiful and very powerful film. I was really struck by the conversation around sex work, which is something that you would never ever see in an Iranian film. So I really appreciated that there was that aspect to it. My question is, there was a moment where you got to see a little bit behind the scenes of the women and their lives, but was it a conscious decision not to further humanize or really talk about the deep-seated reasons why women get into sex work in Iran in the first place? Or was that too big of a subject to include in this film?
Yeah, I think that was something, another movie. Now, as I say, for Ali, the intention, first of all, was making a noir movie. And I know he was touched by this story of this serial killer. He worked on this movie for 15 years. He had the idea for 10 years, and then he started to write it with his co-writer for years and years. And, what I know is that he was always touched by those supporters in that city when the guy got arrested. And first of all, they didn't arrest him after a year. They just he just killed 16 women. Then he got arrested, and then the fact that people, they just started to support him and appreciate him. I think Ali was really touched by this, and that's why he just made this movie. But in a way, he always says he didn't want to do a movie about women or a feminist movie. But for me, from the very beginning, this movie was about different faces of women. The serial killer's wife, the journalist, these prostitutes, daughter, and that's why I think we didn't have that much time to develop everything. But in a way, I think we see somehow all these prostitutes in their life. They are very different.
And the truth is that there's prostitution everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere, every country, even the ones that pretend like they don't have it. Sex is what's the more valuable currency than sex? Maybe oil is the only thing more valuable than sex.
The fact that it happens in that religious, this holy city, I think in the end you think about it, why all this happened in this city. If it's about a holy city, there is the biggest shrine, mosque in world there. They come every year to visit this city because of that shrine, because of Imam Reza. And then it seems like the government wants to, give them some fun. And this prostitution is apparently up, clear. Everyone knows about it.
Yeah.
This is what Ali says about Mashhad, that the face of this city during the day, people, they are working, they are just running from here to there, and it's a normal city. And then at night it becomes a noir horror city. Drugs are there, drug dealers are there, prostitution is there, you know, all these tourists are there just to find one of these prostitutes, you know. So I think it's, the government knows that it's a business, actually.
Yes, in the white, yes, you.
I was just wondering, towards the end, one of the end scenes, when those two men came into the prison cell and they kind of, in such a way, conveyed that we're going to allow you to escape, or we're going to take care of you, don't worry. I almost thought that that was going to happen. Why wasn't it carried out that way? And what